Hi, my name's Danny, and did you know that Americans on average spend 5 hours a day on their phones, and that amounts to about 2.5 months per year spent on their phone? It's kind of crazy. And then 45% of Americans will openly admit to being addicted to their phones, which is crazy when you think about it. Um, Today, my group will be going over how phone usage affects us and what it causes problems with. You'll hear things about statistics about phone usage. You'll hear how it affects our mental health and how it affects our physical health and development. You'll also hear a personal story about how life can be without phones and the impact that that can make on your life and the connection you can make with people when you don't have technology around you. Later on in the speech.
As we stated in the introduction, about 45% of Americans admit to having a phone addiction. This means that 155 million people just in our country are addicted to their phones. Also, 96% of us in this country have a phone, which doesn't seem too concerning, but for those around our age, 46% of them use their phones for 4+ hours a day, according to Tiller, which has a lot more negative side effects than you might think. So looking at statistics for those specifically around our age group, 69% of teenagers wish they spent more time face-to-face communicating with their friends, peers, family, anybody like that. They wish they spent more time with them. 58% of people feel the need to respond to messages immediately at this age. And these statistics are actually really frightening. Even though they seem so normalized for those our age, they show signs of addiction and can really damage your health in many different ways. You've probably seen it when you're out with your friends. You have an urge to pick up your phone while they're talking. You might, and if you do that, they're less likely to open up to you and just communicate honestly with you. And that can really put a strain on your relationships with others. But that doesn't just damage your social relationships, your physical health and your mental health are also damaged when you spend too much time on your phone. So the lack of social relationships affects your physical health as much as drinking 6 alcoholic drinks in a day or smoking 15 cigarettes. And that seems really extreme, but that just really helps show what kind of effect this really has inside your body. Adolescents spending 6+ hours a day on their phones are also 66% more likely to have a suicide-related event. So that might be harming themselves, attempting suicide, successful suicide. That's a really scary thought, and it's crazy to think that just limiting time online and spending more time with those around us could help protect those in the next generation from experiencing the same thing as those in our generation have. It also can really damage your physical health and even cause death in some severe cases. So 14% of fatal car accidents involve phone use in some form or another, which doesn't seem like that big of a percent of them, but that's a lot of lives that could have been saved if people weren't spending time on their phones while they were driving. And for those our age, again, about 32% admit to texting and driving, according to Viola, and that's just those of us who admit it. I know that it can be tempting for all of us, but some might be too afraid to admit it, so that number is likely also a lot higher. So that's just a little bit about how that can damage your physical health and your social health. We'll talk about mental health later in the speech in more detail and damage to the brain, so going back to physical health a little bit more. But those are just some statistics that I want you to think about and why it's important to limit screen time and combat phone addiction, to really protect those in the younger generation and to help strengthen our relationships and really just make a difference in the world around us. I feel like if we all spent less time on our phones, the world would change drastically, and I really hope that we can all do that. Have a good day.
Phones have become a huge part of our everyday lives, especially for teens and young adults. We use them to communicate, stay entertained, complete schoolwork, stay connected. But while phones are helpful tools, excessive phone use can begin to affect our health in ways we may not immediately notice. one of the biggest areas impacted is our sleep. Think about how many times you've said, "I'll just watch one more video," and suddenly an hour has passed. Whether it's scrolling through TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, many of us use our phones right before bed without realizing how much it affects us. One reason for this is blue light exposure. Our bodies naturally produce a hormone called melatonin at night in dark environments, and melatonin helps us regulate our sleep cycle and tells our body that it's time to sleep. But when we spend time on our phones before bed, blue light suppresses melatonin production and can trick our brains into thinking it's still daytime when it's actually nighttime, which makes it harder to fall asleep. According to a study done by the National Library of Medicine, research has shown that extensive smartphone use before bed can delay sleep and reduce sleep quality. Sleep is important because it acts as a maintenance and repair period for the body. When our sleep patterns are disrupted, those restorative processes become less effective, which can affect both our physical and mental health. Poor sleep quality has also been associated with increased risk of weight gain, obesity, and high blood pressure, along with other health concerns. According to an article written about smartphone dependence, another reason phones can be difficult to put down is because of dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical involved in motivation and reward. It's like the brain's reward system. Every time we receive a notification, or refresh our feed, or watch another short video, our brain releases small amounts of dopamine that encourage us to repeat that behavior. That is why scrolling can feel endless, and why 5 minutes can quickly turn into much longer. For teens and young adults, this cycle can affect more than just sleep. A lack of sleep can reduce our attention, concentration, our mood, energy levels, and even academic performance. One study found that consistently sleeping fewer than 6 hours a night can reduce our attention, similarly to staying awake an entire day. Phones themselves are not the problem. They are useful tools, but becoming more aware of our habits can help us create healthier routines. Simple changes like reducing our screen time before bed, turning down our screen brightness in the evening, or using blue light filters, or charging our phones outside our bedrooms can improve sleep quality and help us create a healthier balance. By making small changes now, we can protect our sleep, improve our focus, and create healthier habits for the future.
The overuse of phones does not only cause great mental damage, but also causes physical. Many students of our age might think they're safe from physical changes to their brain, saying that it is fully developed, but this is not the case. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain important for planning, impulse control, decision making, all high-level functions, is not done developing until you're 25. These are all huge functions that you use every single second. So here is a citation from Hong and others. Adolescent males with behavioral addictions, including internet gaming disorder, demonstrate diminished orbital frontal cortex thickness, while excessive social media users showed reduced gray matter volume. Excessive use was defined as 2.5 to 5 hours a day. The first of these things mentioned is just a part of your prefrontal cortex, which is still developing, where when this is damaged, it will reduce your impulse control and your high-level brain functions. And the second, gray matter, is important in all aspects of life, and from memory to emotions. When you have lower gray matter, everything is slower and learning becomes a great obstacle. In another study, it was found that in adults aged 18 to 25, excessive screen time causes thinning of the cerebral cortex. This is from an article by Brock. This, again, damages impulse control and high-level decision-making. So as you can see, the overuse of phones will not only emotionally impair you, but will also make you less intelligent and damage your own brain.
What I wanted to touch on are the beautiful things that can come about when you put your phone down every once in a while. This past year, I participated in a discipleship program in upstate New York called LIFT, which stood for Leaders in Further Training. And each week we had Bible classes, leadership classes. We served. We were at a camp and we served the camp. We had excursions, and these excursions were hiking, canoeing, camping, caving, and all sorts of things, skiing as well. And each time that we left the camp for these excursions, we left our phones behind. And we had so much fun just being present with the people around us and being present with our groups. And it was a really cool experience to not be burdened by the electronic devices that we are so accustomed to. And we also had 2 mission trips that year, one to New Hampshire and one to Guatemala. The New Hampshire trip was a week long, and we just didn't have our phones for a week. And it was really, really cool experience to not have a phone, and we were able to be fully present with the people that we were serving. And then especially so in Guatemala, we were there for 2 weeks, and we were so engaged with the people there. We were able to just participate one-on-one in conversations that we weren't getting bored in, because we didn't have just doom scrolling like mentality of flipping to the next thing, and our attention spans increased dramatically, which was really cool to see by the end of the week, because the pinnacle of our hiking excursions was to hike a volcano in Guatemala, and it was really, really cool. So we hiked a dormant volcano, and we camped out on the volcano, and we were about 1.5 miles away from an active volcano, and so we could watch it just erupt the entire time, and it was just fascinating. But when we first got there, we couldn't even see the volcano. So I have a picture, like, this was our first glimpse of the volcano, and beforehand it had just been clouds, and we couldn't see anything at all, but we were so captivated by the clouds because we didn't have phones to distract us, and we all just sat and watched the clouds rolling by, and it was just fog, like you couldn't even see the volcano through it. And then finally it cleared up and we were able to see it erupt, and it was really cool. So this is just all of us watching the volcano. Well, it's not all of us, there were 30 of us, but it was just a very, very cool experience. And then that night we got to see some lava as it got darker, and it was very fascinating. But the thing that was really cool to see was that this year we've just been able to experience God's presence to the fullest, because we've been putting our phone down and getting into nature, hiking mountains and going on climbing trips and all sorts of things. And then volcanoes, like we sat for hours watching a rock pretty much, and it was just so cool to see that God's handiwork is the most captivating, and that God's nature and his creation is so, so beautiful. And when we put our phones down, when we stop staring through a camera, we're able to fully experience it and fully be present in it. And so I hope this encourages you to put your phone down and get into nature, go on a hike, go camping. It's such a great experience. So thank you.
Overall, we learned a lot today about how phone usage affects us, specifically through statistics, how it affects our physical and emotional well-being, and our physical well-being as well. I think what we learned today mostly was that as a society, we're using our phones a little bit too much right now. And the goal that we should have for all of us is to cut back on the phone usage a little bit more and be present with the people around us, and get experiences outside of the digital world so we feel more connected to everybody.